Today, we are going to work on your short game. No matter what happens, you are going to have this scenario where you're just a little bit short of the green, you're on the fringe, fairway, whatever you may want to call it. Now, you can take a less lofted club and bump and run it, and the same kind of principles apply to what I'm going to tell you. So you choose which one you feel more comfortable with. I'm just demonstrating with a sand wedge right now. When we're around the fringe, the thing we need to avoid most is sort of chunking it or trying to help it up. So let's make it simple by turning it more into a putting stroke. You can sort of set up to it like you would a putt, okay, with the same sort of grip. But if you do that, I would suggest you use an 8 or 9 iron. For a sand iron, I'm going to stand a little bit closer to the ball. Instead of being out here, I'm actually making sure that as I stand close, this club is more or less, well, it's more vertical than it is past the 45, okay? So I'm making sure that the shaft is a little bit higher. Why? Bad shots happen when we create too much friction with the turf. This is where we have to time it perfectly and get ball first, then turf. When we raise up the heel by this manner, we actually reduce friction on the bottom. So we use the bounce of the club, but there's less that we have to rely on. So we can basically do a very simple action that is more reliable and has less turf interaction, which means more consistency. The last little thing I'm going to do is actually just feel like I'm using my wrists a lot less. I'm not staying dead rigid with them. I can still feel the weight of the club, but I'm not letting it flop around in this way. I'm feeling a sort of a putting action, but I can accelerate. But when I'm accelerating, I'm not allowing the club to pass. I'm sort of feeling like those thumbs are pointing down always. My thumbs are pointing down. So I stand closer. I raise up those hands. I do a nice simple backswing and keep those thumbs pointing down. It's a much easier technique to just get it close. Just missing the green on some tougher courses, you're going to have some rough around the greens. These get tricky because we have to still accelerate through, otherwise we end up just sort of duffing them short. So without changing much else about the setup, we're still going to have the feet pretty close together. I've still got a decent hold on the club. We are not having the shaft as steep as we were before. We're not trying to raise up the heel. We're trying to make sure we actually allow the club to pass under the ball and through the rough. And we do that by actually releasing it. Now, this doesn't mean that we're jarring it that way. We're not trying to keep the hands far ahead. We're not keeping the thumbs down this way. We're actually just allowing the weight of the club to pass through, just this nice little momentum. But you notice, I'm not just doing my wrists, I'm not completely letting them buckle, I'm just allowing the weight and momentum to glide underneath. Almost like the golf ball is a flower and we're just trying to cut the stem underneath it. So we take that setup and we just trust, I'm going to feel that club head pass under the ball, and it goes up and around. And every time you can have a nice little chance at saving par. Quick bonus tip. People often forget the necessity of a nice tempo and cadence when it comes to the shorter shots. Don't get snatchy. Don't try and do too slow. Have a nice smooth tempo, just as you would if you were just hand throwing it, tossing it underneath. How would that feel? You wouldn't snatch it this way, you wouldn't be too slow, you would just let the ball throw out your hand nice and smooth. That cadence, that tempo is going to serve you well with every shot around the green. I want you to stop freaking out when you're in a bunker. It's such an easy shot when you apply these tips that I'm going to give you. This tiny little checklist is going to give you much more control and confidence, okay? In the bunkers, there are so many tips that you can think about or try and do. But when you're struggling from them, if we're following the rule of opening the club face, using the bounce, standing open, these various things, it's just more variables that you have to try and, one, remember, but two, remember what it means when you do those things. So I want to keep this really, really basic. Instead of opening up the club face, because it's also sort of disorientating a little bit to feel that club face be open, because then people end up aiming too far right or leaning back. Let's just allow the club to be square. Just keep your grip as normal. What we're going to do from here, we're going to just basically be aware that the shaft isn't too far ahead. That's going to reduce the likelihood that we dig into the sand and can't get it out. We're going to have that shaft feeling kind of vertical. And as far as like weight distribution or whatever, we're going to stand a little bit wider. My arms are hanging naturally, I'm standing wider. We're not standing too close to it, we're standing wider. That's going to shallow out our arc somewhat. As far as ball position goes, we're just going to have it more or less over the center of the chest here. And about 60 to 70% of my weight is on this side. So when you come into the bunker, you just take your grip, stand wider, have a little bit more weight on this left side. Doesn't mean my head is all the way this way, just there. And then we go on to the real secret, which is going to help you get it out. We're standing relatively square now. What I want to do is pull my trail foot, my right foot further back, okay? What that's going to do is encourage me to actually sort of get behind it a little bit more. And instead of trying to lift it up if I stand open, I'm just going to accelerate into the back of the ball, trying to return that club head, that shaft, back to where I set up. So it's just here. I'm just thumping into the back of the sand about an inch or so. And that foot, it might not seem like it seems like a big difference, but it does. It really helps us stay behind and keep that chest down as we swing through. So we keep it so simple, a nice little short action. And remember, I mentioned tempo. We go back and we get it out. A very easy greenside method. It's not perfect, the few things I just told you, but it gets the ball out. What we're going to do is work on how to use the trail arm and how it can connect to your body, as well as having low point control so you can be precise and consistent around the greens. Let's get into it. Let's say you normally set up around here. You're probably thinking ball in the middle of your stance, down below your sternum here. However, what that does can basically make that shaft be the hands be too far ahead and that shaft lean digging in a little bit. So all we need to do is actually move that ball further forward. It might feel strange at first, but if you have it very far forward, almost like on the outside of my left foot, it's going to feel like, oh, that's way ahead. But what happens is it's going to avoid that digging down too much, and it's going to deliver more of a shallower sort of angle of attack. It means you can still get steep, which we want, but we're not going to be digging in. So we're able to brush through the grass that way just by moving that ball forward. It's the easiest tip in the world to improve your chipping contact when you move that ball forward. And what it does by moving that ball forward, it moves your chest slightly ahead as well, which makes sure that that low point, our angle of attack, is sort of ahead of the ball. And we're not hanging back and we're not trying to use the hands too much. It really simplifies our delivery and impact. What we're going to do, you're going to take your setup normally, weight forward, and yes, I would actually like you to move that ball just a little bit further forward, an inch or so to what you normally would, just to help emphasize this. All right, so here's my normal setup, but what I'm going to do is remove my lead hand, my left arm, and I'm going to place it on my trail arm bicep here. What that's going to do is help me almost compress it a little bit. I'm not really squeezing it in tight, I'm just compressing it onto my chest here. So I'm making sure that my sort of lower arm, inside arm, is connecting to my upper chest and rib cage a little bit here. By doing this, I can't realistically just use my wrist. I can't realistically use my arms, because doing any of them fires my body to work a little bit better. I can feel it within here, my core, my chest, my sternum, is more the guiding point rather than the club head or my hands. I'm not feeling too tentative in the hands. I'm holding the club pretty lightly, but I've got a good grip on it, kind of like a hammer, or I'm not letting the bird fly away, basically, if I was holding a bird in my hand. But by connecting my upper chest and doing smooth, slow movements this way, feeling like I'm almost chipping with my core and my club and arms are just following, it gives a very different sensation of being a lot more organized. And you can hit shots like this, okay, until you get used to that sort of feeling of like, what do I need to do? Even there, when I did that one, I actually allowed my arm to come off a little bit and I didn't get quite the correct strike. So in essence, in the real world, if I wasn't doing that drill, what would have happened? I would have used my arms a little bit too much and my body would have stalled. I may have got away with it, I may not have.
She almost got away with it.
So I'm going to really try and execute this drill a little bit better. This is a bit tricky, this drill, so I'm going to make sure that I really do execute it properly. I'm not going to try and hit it too far to begin with. I'm just going to try and get that nice, consistent strike. And from there, I'm going, that's what it feels like.
This is what happy feels like.
So what we're going to do here is add a little bit more length to it, but I'm not trying to go faster with the hands, and this is where distance control comes in, and this is where you can feel it, because if I want the chip to go a little bit longer, I'm just going to rotate my body a little bit more through the shot. So I'm making sure everything is working nicely together. It's a challenging drill, but it's so effective. And the thing is, you don't need to be on a golf course to do it. You can practice this at home. Reverse going, or go back and forth from doing the drill one-handed to 2 shots. I would suggest something like a 2-to-1 ratio until you get more comfortable with it. And when you're out on the golf course, you can always use the drill just to sort of remind yourself what you're trying to feel before your actual shot. That is going to make a big difference to your game. Watch this video next so you don't miss as many greens in the first place, and I will see you next time.